When I first sat still, I hated it. I was in the Navy at the time, an instructor in California. I had a new baby. I had an exhausted wife, and I was burning the candle at both ends. I was in a counseling session with a licensed clinical social worker, and she slid a pamphlet across the desk, and I read it. It said, Mindfulness for Veterans. And she thought it would be a good idea if I would attend. At the time, I was in a job, marriage, parenting, all gas, no brakes. And I remember thinking, mindfulness for veterans, like meditation? I don't know, that's for me, man. But a few weeks later, I found myself sitting with a guy and he had long hair, old hippie, super smart dude, PhD, and he led myself and a group of veterans in a 45-minute long mindfulness meditation. Now, I don't know what exactly happened during that session, but I remember on the drive home thinking, it feels like someone reached inside my brain and turn the dimmer switch down ever so slightly. And in the first time in a long, long time, I felt a sense of calm and not a disconnection, but a sense of calm. And later, I learned why. I continue to meditate from that day too. I haven't stopped. It's been about a decade now, but I did the research. I looked into things. Why? What's going on? What's going on inside my brain when I meditate? Why am I experiencing these changes? So one of the first studies I ran into was researchers at Harvard with Dr. Sara Lazar and her team at Mass General. And I saw that they did a study. In only 8 weeks of mindfulness practice, participants actually changed the structure of their brain. They had more gray matter in the hippocampus. That's the part that supports memory and learning. They also had a thickening of the prefrontal cortex that supports your executive functions. And there was less volume, less density in the amygdala. And the amygdala is part of your alarm system. And this isn't magical, what's going on here, right? This is neuroplasticity. It's the way your brain adapts to changes. In the same way that our brains adapt to changes due to stress, where we have a shrinking of the prefrontal cortex and an enlargement of the amygdala, mindfulness meditation can actually reverse that. So that's when meditation stopped being so woo-woo, foo-foo to me. And it started to become science. It started to become a way of training. And I remember back then too, like in the military, when thinking about like training and mental strength and mental fortitude, like what did that mean? And at the time, that meant suppressing my emotions and pushing through things no matter what the cost. And now today, I feel like mental fitness is more about being able to feel all of my feelings, to articulate my feelings, to allow my feelings to be there, and to respond compassionately to things rather than react compulsively to things. And my meditation practice has shifted my life. I'm now calm. I'm now hopeful. I now sleep good. I now have patience. I now have relationships, loving, present relationships. And I stopped performing. I stopped performing as if I was calm, cool, and collected. And I actually started feeling calm, cool, and collected. And over time, I went from practicing to teaching. And I remember I first started teaching meditations and leading meditations in a Buddhist recovery group. And it was there that the light first came on that perhaps I'm decent at this. And then I continued. I continued to lead meditations by forming meditation groups in the military, bringing it overseas to Japan with me, and teaching service members in the Air Force and the Navy about mindfulness meditation. And then after my service in the military, I brought it to my coaching clients, I brought it to corporate teams, and I brought it to people that carry a lot. The people that carry a lot day in and day out, the veterans, the active duty, the first responders, the busy parents, the stretched out leaders. And every one of them is different, but they're all looking for the same things. They're looking for an ability to reset under pressure, and they're looking for the ability to respond wisely to situations as they happen. And that's what Train Your Mind is built for. It's 6 weeks, real world mindfulness, no incense, no mysticism. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just evidence-based tools to calm the body, to focus the mind, and to build emotional endurance. So if you can breathe, you can train. And if you can notice, you can grow. And this is where the work begins. So take a big deep breath with me in through the nose. Hold it briefly on top and then let it out the mouth. And a long, slow, steady exhale. Let's train.